You're coming in, what, maybe pre-presidential period, ano? Like,
Yeah.
how did you first meet?
Well, I've met the president many times before,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to know him closer when we were in the cabinet of President Cory.
All right. Mm-hmm.
He was then secretary of DND.
Yeah.
I was then secretary of the ILG.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet at least once a week
Mm-hmm.
during the CAB meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him distinctly because every time he attends the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
he goes around giving his batch of papers all the time. Maraming papel pinimigay yan eh. Mga memoranda, mga
Okay.
matters that he would like to other people to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one who gives a lot of papers, documents
Mm-hmm.
every CAB meeting.
What was that? That was specific to each cabinet
In
member, or
Bisan, pagka may, like in the ILG, pagka may kailangan siya on PNP, then he approaches me. Otherwise, matters of general interest. Yeah.
so it was
Masipag sa papel, ang daming papel talaga.
okay. So
Yeah.
that was a character trait that you
Yeah, and
first noticed.
yeah, because you remember him all the time because after the meeting, you take up the papers and you read this at home.
Mm-hmm.
Naalala ko pa rin yung sinasabi niya.
Yeah. Did he get back to you to do a follow up? Was that part of the routine?
No, I think the follow-up became a reality when I worked, in GSIS under the president,
Okay, okay.
hands-on siya,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, I thought I didn't know his style before.
Mm-hmm.
So akala ko ang style niya is, you only see him when there's need to see him.
Yeah.
But if everything is going well, then don't involve him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nagkamali ako doon, because apparently he likes you to report him regularly.
Oh, okay.
No, and I think there was a 4-month lull before that I have not been reporting to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then suddenly I was in Cavite. I got a telephone call, and wala pa ng cellphone, yung
Malalaki pa.
malaking telephone. Cesar, where are you? Saka I'm now in Cavite thanking our followers there, for having voted you as president. Ba't ang tagal-tagal mo na, hindi ka pa nagpapakita rito? Sabi ko, sir, wala namang i-report na hindi maganda po. Everything's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought there was really nothing to report.
Mm-hmm.
No, ano ba, ikaw ba ang pasok sa Pilipinas, kaya patawag pa kita. Nagalit siya.
Yeah.
From then on, I saw him at least twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was already president then.
Yeah,
no?
at that time,
Yeah,
yes.
yes. Okay. Let's move back a few years before that. So you were colleagues, equals in the Cory cabinet. Let me ask you, did it ever cross your mind that he was presidential material, that he would eventually become, commander-in-chief?
At that time, President Ramos is not exactly political,
Okay.
Unlike the personalities during that time, si Bonching Mitra was really vying for that position for quite a long time. And we were all focused on Monching,
Right.
and I knew that he was moving there, trying to, position himself. But Monching was still, ahead. Uh, I remember distinctly, because I was there with President Cory talking to her about, Ma'am, sino ba ating presidente? Sabi ko, Sabi niya, ang survey CESAR, mukhang this is confidential. Sabi mukhang si Secretary Ramos ang it really took Cory a while for her to decide to really endorse President
FVR.
Ramos. And I distinctly remember talking to her, and it really was a painstaking process for her.
Yeah.
Kasi malapit sa kay Monching eh. Kaibigan din ni Pinino yan.
Yes.
You know, together with the EDSA and all that.
Yes.
But sabi niya, mukhang malaki na, ko at that time, President Ramos was really leading, you know, far ahead of Monching. You know, and finally the President decided, I will support
FVR.
the FVR. And I remember her announcing this during her birthday sa Malacanang.
Yes.
It was her birthday, there was mass. And of course, at the end of the mass, she was asked to say something. It was then that she announced about, you know, she announced her preference for President Ramos.
What turned the tide, you think? I mean, Monching was a natural, ano? He
It
was
was really natural and
he was-
traditional politician.
right. He was the natural political choice. no?
Yeah.
But what turned the tide? Do you
I think the
you were
people
pretty
at
close
that
to. You were also very close to President Cory, right?
Quite, yeah.
You had her ear, and tell us what
she was
turned the
listening
tide.
to me once in a while, but not all the time.
Yeah.
I think the people at that time, they were also trying to look for someone new.
Okay.
You know, after the EDSA revolution,
Right.
they were like looking at someone who's perhaps different from the old mold. It's a good choice because, pero akala namin walang kalaban-laban talaga si President Ramos. And it's also at that time when he said, CESAR, kakampanya tayo kay Secretary Ramos. Ikaw ang bahala sa Cavite, sabi niya.
Okay.
I entrust the entire Cavite province to you. Bahala ka na lang i-kampanya siya ron. That was my first serious excursion into politics.
Okay.
Because I went to Cavite, you know, because at that time she was campaigning. I had to go with her most of the time to introduce her by protocol.
Yes.
Because the ILG, you know,
Yes.
before she speaks, I have to say, mga kababayan, malaking kagalakan na aking ipakilala sa inyo ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. So that was my role, just to introduce it. Tapos na ako,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
When I went to Cavite, there was still no party to speak of. Ang tawag sa amin, lakas. Ang tawag sa amin noon, lakas. Ang aming biruan lakas tuhod. Lakas tuhod. Because he had nothing to speak of at the beginning. But, you know, I think people, as time went on, people realized that there was a new person, you know, in the block. And they can also see the difference between, you know, kalaban ni Presidente Ramos, you know. Well, even in Cavite, for the first time in our history, the opposition won in Cavite by 50,000 votes. Well, that's a lot during that time.
How did that decision take you? I mean, where were you veering towards at that
No,
time?
I was very towards anyone that President Cory wants to,
okay.
endorse.
Okay.
Because I think, I believe in her judgment. She has a calculating mind, you know, despite her seeming housewife, projection. Malalim din ang kanyang pag-iisip sa kanyang politika. Yeah, tsaka hindi siya orthodox.
Yeah.
And somehow that represents a sector of Philippine society. Hindi orthodox thinking, you know. Yeah.
So you weren't taken by surprise with that decision?
No, not at all. I think she was really looking for a substitute, a worthy substitute, to follow through what she started. And I honestly think that Secretary Ramos was a good substitute. Hindi niya kasama mga tradpole, you know. And she had a different group of people, you know, around him who could offer fresh ideas. Yeah.
She specifically asked you to take care of Cavite.
Yeah.
That
was a tall order.
Which was your home province, ano?
Yeah, because at that time, Cavite is ruled,
Yeah.
you know, by a family, you know, and you know whatever they say happens in Cavite. It's a good thing that I was the IG secretary, because I had some force behind me, who could make some countermeasures in case he does something that's not legal. I remember I called up the governor then. I said, ako mangangampay sa Cavite, sabi ko, fair na lang ang nilabanan natin. But fair warning, walang bakal sapagkat kung bakal ang gagamitin mo, may bakal din kami. So let's just try to, stay away from that. And when people felt in Cavite that they can vote more freely, they voted for us, despite our lack of finances, lack of leaders, lack of many things.
Yeah. But just to put it in perspective, the influential clan was not supported some other candidate, right?
Yeah.
It was supporting some,
Yeah.
not
No.
FVR.
No, in fact, President Ramos was kind of felt deeply about Cavite because at the time that he was campaigning with with people that politicians have not heard of. I remember there was a convention held in Cavite to choose the candidate for president, and the president got 0 vote in Cavite, 0. And the posters that they put up the night before, not tinanggal the day after. Nagalit siya eh. Nagalit siya talaga. Ano ba ang kalokohan ng ginagawa nila dyan? And then a month after that, I think, they murdered Mayor Velasco of Ternate.
Yes.
That also, hit us hard, especially him. Because Mayor Velasco was one of the few 2 or 3 leaders who supported him in Cavite.
Yes.
And with that, there was a lot of concentration in Cavite. Tsaka, Cavite was bloody before,
It was a hotbed,
Hotbed yun ng araw. Pero with the right amount of show-off, we can also, meet force with force. I think nagkaroon siya ng konting, natakot siya ng konting.
But Cavite was just the first of many, right? Because I remember you were eventually made the overall, right?
After President Ramos,
manager.
his term, then Joe De Venecia was chosen, and he directed me, instructed me to become the national campaign manager for Joe De Venecia.
For Joe, okay.
Yeah.
But in the case of the Ramos presidential run, it was just really more specifically to Cavite.
I was assigned Cavite as my
Cavite.
area of responsibility.
Okay.
Malaki importante dyan eh. Malaki.
But yeah, as we said, it was quite a hotbed. It was, and in fact, it was placed under.
Yeah.
What was the term? It was placed under very, very stringent measures, no?
We had a lot of checkpoints,
Yes.
to make sure that the graduates, are not brought freely outside. We had that checked, through a series of checkpoints. Marami kaming checkpoint tong araw eh. Then people realized that we were serious about our business, They will not condone any unjust things to happen. And I think we fought fair and square, despite our being in the government at that time. We never abused it.
Why? Were you also a party affiliated then? Were you LDP or were you? What was the affiliation?
I was certainly a party man, but LDP was the party then.
Yes.
Yeah. So all of us in the cabinet were LDP inclined.
How did that take you eventually when FVR created or used, set up Lakas as the...
There was not
Which is,
much difficulty because it was Cory who declared Mr. Ramos as the candidate. So it was just natural for all of us to follow as members of the cabinet. You know, we also liked her decision. Yeah.
How difficult was it pitching for FVR? At least within your the scope. It was a very traditional politics rooted with very strong bailiwick for a
I
clan.
think I felt then that Cavite was looking for a new leader
All right.
because we have been in the stranglehold of that family for such a long time. That people, I think, just would like to get off. And I think we gave them an alternative through the person of Secretary Ramos. And I think they felt that it was it was a new face. And tsaka people were already, they really want change. I felt that.
So how did partnerships and alliances, alliance building go?
The old politicians were with that family. Yung aking mga bago, new faces, faces that we chose personally to campaign.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of our local candidates lost,
Oh, okay.
but Ramos won in Cavite.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of our mayoralty candidates, natalo sila. Pero nanalo kami kay Presidente. In fact, that 50,000 vote that we, yung aming, napanalo sa Cavite was a big factor in the overall result of the elections. Kasi the president only won, I think, by what, 500,000?
Yeah, well, he
Half a million, I
was
think.
a plurality,
Yeah.
It was a
So our
plurality
50,000 did a lot to contribute to that basket.
And pitching him as not a traditional politician. Okay.
Pero masipag siya mag-kampanya.
Yeah, how did that go? I mean, people say that those half his age were put to shame by his energy.
Energy. Yeah, that's true. Even when he became president, he was very energetic. And he remembers events, he remembers people.
Oh, remembers events and remembers people. When he became president, I remember at least once a week when I was posted at the palace covering, we would always go to Cavite for the inauguration of some light industrial park, some new factory, and he wasn't exactly vindictive, about Cavite, because if with his power and influence as chief executive, he would just rightly so tell some business conglomerate, locate elsewhere, not in Cavite.
No, he wasn't vindictive. In fact, because of the fact that he won in Cavite, despite all odds, he was so grateful to us that every time we invite him, he really comes around.
I know.
And when protocol dictates that he has to be with the governor, at alam niya yung mga tao namin naghihintay sa kabila, iiwan yung kabila doon, pupunta yun sa kabila. And he really showed that without any, rancor. Basta, ito makasama ko, dito ko sasama. He goes he goes with the governor for protocol, but after half an hour, iwanan niya na yan. And people liked him for that.
Get it done with the official functions and then meet with the base.
Yeah, that's where he sat
Yes.
all the time in this presidential table. People remember him for that up to now.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the president wins. He takes his oath as chief executive in June 30, 1992. Why the GSIS?
In fact, during Cory's time, Frank Delon and I were supposed to liaison with the Lakas Party.
Yes.
You know, we were going to go there to find out ano bang kinakailangan, anong kulang, ano pang mga kailangan gawin. And I remember in one meeting that we attended with Frank, we were talking about finances. And I just asked, magkano pa pera yun sa bangko? Sabi ko, you know. I would not mention the figure, but it was so measly. When I heard the figures, I go, Frank, can we go outside the room? And I'd like to talk to you first. Frank, they wanted to run for senator.
In 90...
That time, that time during that election.
92. Yeah.
Sabi ko, Frank, magkano naman ko ng senator, mukhang wala tayong pera, panlaban ikaw. You know? Then I realized talagang we were really coming from behind. Now, and so we had to, you know, so we told President Cory, ma'am, walang pera ang partidong lakas. And we've got to generate the resources to finance the campaign. Cory naman, you know, knew exactly what had to be done. And she did what had to be done. We were able to raise some funds, at least to get a very, you know, noteworthy campaign going on. Yeah.
Good enough fight.
Good. It was a good fight. Good fight.
Okay. Okay. But you mentioned lakas. Was there any problem reconciling the ideologies? You had lakas, you had NUCD, UMDP, or was it really something that didn't bother you?
Meron kasing NUCD noon the
Yes.
Christian Social Democrats.
National Union of
And they had an ideology
Yes.
that we can be proud of, you know.
Okay.
But alam mo naman, though the paper is there for people to read, people don't really follow them.
Okay.
You know, I think even at that time, we were ruled by personalities, not by ideology. You know.
So that was secondary?
The paper was secondary, you know.
Okay.
It was really more a battle of persons
Okay.
that time, you know.
And that was how you pitched
Well, I think
FVR?
people knew we were in for a change.
Okay.
And we were all rooting for a change. Even at the local level, we chose new faces, you know. Hindi ito yung mga old politicians na normally they are chosen whenever there's an election. Ito, we really chose new faces. Kahit alam namin talo, at least bagong mukha yung lalaban namin, you know. Yeah, people liked it, I think. You know.
So,
We lost at the local, but we won the national, so
Okay.
we were vindicated.
So alternative candidates.
Yeah, alternative. We
Alternative
chose them really handpicked namin.
Okay. One particular issue that was thrown or was associated to you, and I think it was because of your role then at the DILG, was allegations of partiality in disbursing rebel returnee funds to sectors or groups who preferred FVR as a choice. Tell me about that.
You know, at DILG there was a fund that was supposed to be used to help rebel returnees.
Right.
You know. And I recall that was being managed by an office within DILG. And the question of using the fund for political purposes was brought up. There was a Senate hearing about it, I remember. And I think we were able to prove that, true enough, we were disbursing it, but we had no, you know, we did not really show partiality.
Okay.
In the sense that we were giving all the amount to our, you know, to our colleagues. Kita nila, I think, you know, when they saw the beneficiaries, marami naman eh. Marami. Tsaka iba niyan, you really pay them for arms returned. You know.
So hindi ano. So
No, nothing came out of it.
it was neutral, ano? The disbursements
there
were.
was a big fuss about it, but at the end of the day, there was really nothing that they could, you know, that they could direct to us as having been, you know, irresponsible.
Okay. Your GSIS posting, how did that happen, sir?
Again, I
So
remember.
you were celebrating the victory of
No,
the
in fact,
campaign.
after he won, I never saw him.
Oh, okay.
I knew there was a group meeting at DBP, I think,
Mhm.
trying to really make some choices. I never
Mhm.
even lifted a finger
Mhm.
to tell him, where I'd like to be. I
Mhm.
said that's his choice. Bahala siya.
Mhm.
Of
Mhm.
course, ang gusto ko naman, since I was the ILG,
Mhm.
I wanted to continue what I started.
Oh, you wanted to stay on?
Now, because I crafted the local government code.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
And I thought that was something that I could keep on doing,
Mhm.
implement it the way I thought it
Mhm.
should be implemented.
You wanted to
But I never
steward it.
told him anything about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, if I took he had to call me to see him. That's the truth.
When was that? You remember?
I,
Before?
I was again in Cavite when I got a call from the PNP headquarters saying, Mr. Sarino,
Mhm.
hinahanap kayo po ng presidente, kung pwede ka makausap.
Mhm.
Sabi ko, sige, kausapin natin sa telepono. Yung malaking telepono ulit. Sa President, kako, sabi, where are you, Cesar? Ako sa Cavite ho. Dito ako nagpapasalamat ulit. Where can we see each other? Sabi ko, kayo, kung bahala kayo kung kailan gusto nyo. Sabi niya, may wedding just sa Ermita Church,
Okay.
that Episcopalian Church.
Yes. Yes.
Is that Ermita?
That area, yes.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
area. Sabi niya, may misa, may kasal ng alas 4. Let's meet at 3 o'clock before the wedding starts. So, doon tayo magkita. Then, what you call, earlier than 3, he came at 3 o'clock. Then we took a back seat at the rear of the church. Kaming dalawa lang. O sabi niya, ano bang position gusto mo? Wala ho, bahala kayo. Sabi niya, ano bang siya, PMB, GSIS.
You didn't mention the ILG?
I was a bit more cautious, I
Okay.
guess. Never mentioned. I did not mention anything to him at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all. Sabi ko, hindi ko po alam kung ano dyan. Give me time to think about it. Gusto niya, ikaw ang chairman ng GSIS. Sabi ko, pag-isipan ko po kung ano. It was that I started to talk to friends. I said, ano ba ang GSIS, ano ba ang PMB? Ano ba akong pro and con ng dalawa na yan? Sabi sa akin nila, una-una CESAR, don't get the chairmanship. Sa tipo mo, hands-on ka. Makikialam ka lang. Hindi duty ng chairman makialam.
Yes.
Gusto mo mag-CEO ka.
Mhm.
Yes, Number 2, between a bank and GSIS, sabi niya, ang banko maraming regulasyon. Maraming nakikialam, may central bank, may finance, Sa GSIS, wala makikialam sa'yo, ikaw lang yan talaga. Saka may pera ka, dami-dami, malakpas sa banko ng GSIS. You can do as you please when it comes to investments. So just take GSIS, but not as chair, but as CEO. So, after a while, tumawag ulit siya, nakapag-decide ka na ba? Sabi ko, opo. If you like to offer me GSIS, I said, GSIS, kukunin ko po per presidente, hindi si chairman. Sige, sa'yo na. That was it. Simple as that.
Wow. Was that after he was proclaimed already?
Yeah.
Nakasumpa na siya?
Hindi pa, wala pa.
Not yet.
Naghanap pa siya,
Okay.
nahanap ng mga tao to fill up the positions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm going to say aside, I think you could credit the Ramos administration with one of the milestone legislations when we enacted the GSIS Act of 1990.
97.
Because that was the time we increased the pension up to 90% of your salary. 90!
Mhm.
Unequal din,
Yes. Yes.
So people are very happy up to now. As I said, may problema pa ngayon. Kulang sa kulang sa kanang hindi, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Actually, you're right. One of the milestones was the new mandate.
Yeah.
Of the GSIS.
We gave it more autonomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Was there any particular marching instruction or from FVR about how you should handle, well, the state pension fund, no?
No? I think that that's one of the assets of the president. He assigns you to do something. He thinks you should know how to do it. And which I think is good, no? Because there's no close monitoring that you're subjected to. Yeah, and I think we did quite well because that was the time that we broke all records in GSIS.
Right. Collection-wise.
Collection, finance, funds.
Oh.
Talagang we we shut the roof.
Eh, yung ano, no? Yung the viability of the fund, ano? When you came in, how long was the how do you call that? The fund life? And then when you left, how much had you improved it?
When I came in, I think we were, because at that time, before anything can happen in GSIS, you also sometimes you need the approval of Congress, part of the law. So you can't really move as fast. But when the law was passed, I gave that power to the board already without going to Congress. And I remember that I decided to invest abroad. And I was investigated for that.
Yes.
I nearly got fired.
Yes.
In fact, I was told I was fired the day before. And I was in Hong Kong. Sabi ko, ba't ako na-fire? Kasi you're not patriotic. Ako, in what sense? Kasi ang presidente goes abroad once a month to ask for investments to come in. Ikaw naman lumalabas ka, dahil pera natin sa labas. Sabi ko, ano kung masama nun? There's no conflict at all between me investing abroad and the president going out, to ask for investments to come in. Reciprocal naman ka ako yan eh. Well, anyhow, there was again another investigation by Congress. Then, and Malacanang inquiry as well. Maraming usapan. At the end of the day, the conclusion was, I did remarkably well. Because by the time I invested, about $200 million abroad at that time, biglang tumaas ang peso exchange,
Right.
So I made money on that already. And then there was a bull market abroad.
Yeah.
So I hit it twice. So in about 2 years, I doubled my return on my investment in 2 years. But I was forced to return it.
But that was really more to expand the portfolio, right?
It's normal. Because if you don't make the money here, you have to make the money someplace else,
Right. Tell me about member benefits. Well, were they expanded during your time?
Yes, of course. Ang dami, well, even the small things. For example, before the retirees went to the office to get their checks and all that, kasama nila mga pamangkin, mga apo. I saw that, they were really coming in with their, with toddlers. So I said, kako bigyan nyo ng pera yung mga toddler niya for accompanying their elders. So I gave them a caretaker's allowance.
Oh, okay.
And then I have a small room there, a big room, not small, where I serve coffee and sandwich and take coffee, sandwich. While they wait for the checks to be processed, they're all there. They were eating, and all that. Marami small things that quite a bit.
Was that replicated in the other offices? Well, I know it was done sa main.
Kasi ang main, that office is huge.
Yes.
It's a 14-hectare floor area. It's big as a mall.
Yes.
And had so much space in that building. It was easy for me to allot a space for the pensioners. Quite a bit. I had a gym there. I had yung daycare center.
Right.
I had a dormitory there.
Meron na ba yung hospitalization support noon? Wala pa.
Meron na kami at that time. Meron na.
Okay.
Yeah, meron na kami. In fact, what I did that I think is really noteworthy was that kasi maraming utang ang mga pensioners namin, mga teachers especially.
Right. Right.
And so what I did at that time, one of the better investments was to put your money in the money market. Okay. At that time, you had to have at least 100,000 to be able to place your money in the money market. So sabi ko, gubata ng sarili nating sistema, with 10,000, you can now buy a T-bill, treasury bill. So 10,000, sabi ko, peso kumita na malaki. And that became a hit. You know? Number two, then I said, since they need money for education, for for funeral services and all that, I also sold pre-need plans.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
With pre-need ako noon.
Was that the meron ka pa yung mutual fund?
Yeah.
I remember and that was the that was the vehicle for acquiring investments, stock
And for them to
options.
invest as well.
Right. Right.
It's the biggest mutual fund in the Philippines.
Right. At that time,
yeah.
And it was
It did
led-
well.
And it was
Alam mo ba, sad things after I left, maraming siyang tinanggal
kind
na.
of changed, Okay. Okay. So, you opened up government securities, the mutual fund was there. How did you deal with some of you inherited a few headaches as well. Tell me about how you resolved the housing conundrum. I mean, GSIS was into previous administrations of GSIS went into housing.
I remember there was so much talk about it. And so what I did was I formed a small legal office composed of graduates from UP, Ateneo, Sambeda. Talagang these are new faces, no? Walang kilala sa gobyerno. And I put them in a room on the executive floor where no one could talk to them, so they could do their own investigation, without anyone interfering at all in what they're doing. I think we filed a lot of charges. They were all filed with the ombudsman. But sadly, after they were filed, nothing much happened, I think.
Hindi na follow through.
Na-follow through namin yung opisina ng mga abogado na kinuha ko na talaga walang kilala sa gobyerno. They were also disbanded. They were disbanded. So they were able to do the mandate they were supposed to,
Sayang.
Sayang.
Okay. GSIS employees, your employees mismo, are supposedly one of the best paid group of government employees.
Yes, up to now.
Sa iyo ba nagsimula yun?
Yes,
Or was it
sa akin yun.
Okay.
With the GSIS Act,
The new mandate.
the board can now approve salary increases without having to go to Congress.
Okay.
So then we really aligned our salaries with that of the private sector.
Right.
Coupled with that, I asked Ateneo to conduct a special MBA course for GSIS executives only. Para nga sumabay, no? Oh, yeah, this is one of the highest paid up to now.
Right.
In fact, when I was CEO, I think I was only getting about 50,000 a month. When I left, 500,000 na isang buwan yun, alawa. Yeah.
That was a turning point, the passage of the new
Yes,
of the GSIS
it was a milestone.
mandate, But it also allowed for, while it made the agency more flexible and more agile with managing the state fund, it also imposed some very strict financial responsibilities, especially on the board, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a difficult, institution to manage, But one thing is that GSIS when I left was awash with funds. Talagang maraming akong iniwan ng pera dyan. The assets tripled during my time. The profitability soared by so many 1,000%. Maganda, modest aside, I think I established a track record there.
Some assets that were acquired and divested. No? Manila Hotel, di ba?
Yeah, that was the asset I had sold.
Disposed,
Okay.
divested.
Divested.
Oo.
I think I was pressured to do that because it was one of the World Bank conditionalities.
Okay.
Okay. Number two, at that time, the hotel was losing money because hotels in Makati started to sprout.
Right. Right.
And during that time, the traffic was so horrible. It took 3 hours from main hotel to go to Makati. We were losing all our clients. I was bleeding. I think I was putting in about $500,000 every month into main hotel because kulang na ang kinikita. So I said, it's high time to divest. So I had a bidding. Someone won the bid. And then it was contested in court.
Right.
And
Foreign, well, may foreign no? May
yung
foreign
yung
component,
nanalo, may foreign Itong na-award because of the Supreme Court decision, walang foreign, puro local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember, I think the public sentiment was that you couldn't allow a heritage site, to be owned by a foreign
Foreigner.
entity. And yet, 20 years later, it's commonplace. No? Metropolitan Theater, was that also?
That's a sad story, because I knew it was ours.
Yes.
It was being contested by Manila.
Yes.
We won in the court saying that the property was ours. I knew it was a heritage building. So I asked the board to renovate it. And I had the board approve a budget to renovate the entire thing. In fact, I have entered into contract with UPA College of Engineering and Architecture to do the basic engineering designs. I had Boy Abunda do the production program. Marami na akong na umpisahan para ma-renovate. Till we get another case in court saying you have to stop it. Sayang, if they allowed me to do that, tapos yung Met Museum na yan. The money was there, so law approved. And the contracts were awarded. Sayang. Ngayon, pinag-uusapan pa nila.
It's still ongoing.
Ongoing, yeah.
Okay. At about the same time as well, wasn't this during your stewardship as well that the GSIS got into collecting art?
At that time, there were only 2 buildings in that area, PMB and GSIS. It was really out of the way. And the area was really big. It's 14 hectares of space that we must utilize somehow. Sabi ko, why don't we make this destination point here in GSIS building? Let people come here and look at the edifice, look at the architecture. So I decided to put up a GSIS museum and a GSIS theater.
Yep.
And that became a well-frequented museum. Natala ko pa National Museum. Because we had a lot of paintings. Remember, Imelda bought so many paintings. And when I went to GSIS, nakita ko, they were all in the vault. Naka-stack lang ganun. Kasi ko, sayang naman ka ako. Ito mabubulok lang. At these are priceless. So I had someone redesign a space which we converted into a museum.
Yes.
Sadly, wala na yata ngayon.
Yep.
Pati yung theater ko na ginawa ko din, wala yata ngayon. What I thought was going to be a destination building, ngayon naging typical office building.
Sayang.
Sayang, ang dami ang painting ng GSIS, magaganda.
But it's quite a formidable collection, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Filipino masters.
Yeah, Filipino masters.
During your time, you were acquiring?
No.
Or you were just really
I was using what we
curating?
had.
Yes. Okay.
Marami eh.
Nasayang, ano?
Marami. And so yung mga iba, I invited some of the artists to display their work without having to pay for them, you know. Display nyo ko dito lahat para makita ng mga tao. Then we became the center for the National Art Competition annually.
Yes.
And I think we were getting traction already as being an art center until when the new group came in. I don't know. That's when Dave Baradas came into the picture. He was my first curator. Yeah.
But kind of lost momentum after.
Nawala eh. Sayang. Ang maganda museum yan.
With the new.
No, in fact, a side story. Whenever I have got guests from London or any supladong country, I usually tell them to wait in the museum. Because I was placed there called a place there where it's a special place with mga sofa. Ganda. I asked them to wait there for an hour.
Yeah.
Let them feel how awesome this building is and the institution. So when I talk to them, may pagka hindi na ganun kayabang. It worked. Yeah. Once they go to that museum and they sit in that room, pagpasok ko, sabi lang na yaman-yaman pa ng institution. They were on.
They recognize the
Yeah.
art pieces.
The art pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
Which brings me to one other culture facility, the Palace. Diba?
Now
the
that
Palace
is
Museum.
something that I think you have to credit President Ramos with.
Okay.
You know,
Why so?
what was the most frequented museum in the Philippines at that time? We were getting more people than the National Museum. And I think with pride we can say that that was built without too much public funds. The decision then was to convert each room into a presidential room where we can showcase the artifacts of past presidents.
Memorabilia.
Yeah, memorabilia.
Of each of the presidents. Okay.
That's also when I realized people in the Philippines don't keep memorabilia. They don't.
Yeah.
We saw the pomposity of things you put in. Anyhow. So to finance the museum, we had places designated for this president and all that. We assigned one corporation to take care of everything.
Oh, okay. One corporation?
Yeah, like the Garcia room will be financed by this corporation.
Oh, okay.
The Osmeña room.
So may patron.
May
Parang
patron.
May patron
Yeah.
door.
And you put their name on on top of the door to give them a recognition. Yeah. Magandang maganda sayang, May was there was a brains behind it.
Okay.
And we bought so many artifacts to bring in. Ang masama, when the Glory decided to move in, we didn't know where to place all those things that we had inside the museum.
Okay.
Sayang. We invested quite a lot, We repainted the rooms, Sayang. And there's no museum not to speak of. But again, during his time, whenever the head of state, they're given a tour of that museum. Tsaka may special place doon sa corridor na nilalagyan ng mga photographs.
Yes.
Na mga countries who are visiting us. He was proud to show them around.
And he what made him decide to make it so?
I think it's a sense of history.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a sense of history. I think he feels that people ought to remember the past. Yeah.
You don't know your roots. There's no way moving forward.
Moving forward.
Alright.
Sayang. Sayang.
Mhm. And before that, the tour was actually more about the shoes, no?
Nasa basement lahat yan, ha?
Right.
Shoes, the perfumes, the clothes.
Right. But yes, I remember during the Ramos era, it was memorabilia
Yeah.
of the
Presidents.
the presidential collections.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sayang. This also one thing with this country. We don't build building blocks.
Mhm.
Ano, pagka may ginawa ka, may pumalit, papalitan nila. Sayang.
Mhm.
Sayang. They don't build on what you started.
Mhm.
That's sad in this country.
Okay. So, isa pang sayang. uh, you're heading towards the end of the 6-year term. You were
Was
you were
cut off.
drafted.
I was cut off.
You cut off ba? Or
Yeah, I was going to Indonesia that day for to attend a meeting on regional insurance.
Mhm.
Then I recall a guard was walking towards me.
All right.
Sabi ko, "Are you Mr. Sarino?" I said, "Yes, I'm Cesar Sarino." There's a phone call for you from the president.
All
Sabi
right.
ko, saan? Told niya, we have to walk to the counter. So I got the phone. True enough, there was President Ramos on the other line. Yeah, Cesar, saan ka ba naroon? I'm not at the airport. I'm going to Indonesia, Jakarta for a meeting. O, kasi nandito si Joe De Vresia at saka ibang mga tao natin dito. Sabi niya, pinili ka maging national campaign manager ni Joe De Vresia. Sabi ko, huwag na lang ko. Kasi ako ang chairman ng Finance Committee. Baka hindi ko na kaya maging campaign manager and then finance chairman. Kako, sa finance na lang ako pupunta, sabi ko.
Mhm.
Hindi, gusto ko ikaw maging campaign manager. Sabi ko, kung yan pong gusto nyo, susundin ko kayo. Okay. Hindi kung gusto ko. Tinatanong kita.
Okay. So that's how the draft went, huh?
That's how the draft literally went. Because I refused it.
But you took it on, right? You took it on.
Because he ordered me to.
Because you not pretty much of a choice left there, no?
It was also later. Remember, election was in May. That was Feb.
Yes.
So Feb, April, malapit na eh.
90
And
days
there was
lang
just
talaga.
really no other people that they can, And since I won in Cavite because of what, I did for him. So sabi niya, pwede si Cesar dito. It was a hard fight. Difficult fight. In fact, a monumental fight.
But how did that take you? I mean, looking back, of course, Speaker De Venecia lost that run, but the prospect of losing the momentum, and you've actually mentioned it a couple of times already, na sayang.
Sayang. I regret having been chosen as campaign manager. I think, looking back, the party was so disorganized. Walang makinarya eh. If I went to the campaign headquarters, walang tao.
Okay.
I had to literally pick my people from my alliances. It took me a week to get my people to come in on a voluntary basis. And we were running after time, and how could you fight ERAP at that time? It was so popular,
The popularity talaga.
And then we were also disorganized at one end. Sabi ko, paano ba ito? Hindi ka balansyado, Well, history.
But coming from, it was the administration party already, no?
Yeah, by that time, people from the Lakas have bolted to join ERAP also.
Okay.
They've all left us.
Oh.
They've all left us.
So that rings true with your earlier mention that it's not really the ideology, no?
Yeah. Even up to now.
What could have been done better,
Lamo at that time,
looking at 6 years?
it has a what? Better in terms of politics or government?
It's a general, ano?
You know, one of my sad moments, when sometimes look back, was the non-implementation of the local government code. Because that was really my personal ambition since I was young, to give local government autonomy. And I also learned from my lesson from that law that if you are going to craft a law, craft it with the assumption that evil people will implement it. And because I was coming from kind of idealistic, akala ko the law will be implemented by people with goodwill. Hindi eh. And sad, like up to now, they're talking about federalism. I don't think it should be a major issue at all if they only implemented the local government code. That should not be an issue anymore. But up to now, you still have dynasties here. You can't have federalism and local government with a lot of dynasties around. You have got to demolish the political structure here. And let people vote freely and let people aspire to become public servants. Ngayon, it's widely known, before you can run for public office, you have to have millions. If you're a poor fellow with a lot of idealism, and you have got no money, how can you serve the public?
You'll never
It's
get
sad, Federalism is good, but try it first with the local autonomy. And learn from it. Then you build up your building blocks.
But FVR had 6 years to do that.
That's not enough. He was also working with Congress, remember that. Okay. Those are old institutions. You just don't,
Monoliths.
Hirap. You've got to work with Congress, Senate. That's reality. So you have got to make the best out of it. Yeah.
And the local governments themselves, no?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. Is there anything else you can think of?
I will not add anymore before I get into trouble, I guess.
Sige, huli na lang. What to you is the FBR legacy?
I think everyone was able to show that it takes some brains to run this government,
Brains.
You know,
Okay.
It also takes a lot of effort to run this government, and a lot of goodwill, and a good heart. And for the first time, I was able to show that it can be done. Yun lang, as I said, since there are more political blocks here, walang continuity. As I said, after President Ramos' ERAP won, then Gloria came. Wala, all the things that he was trying to build on, erode, erode.
That despite Gloria being a Lakas member.
But Lakas is like a shirt. You wear it once, next week you wear another one. There's no more Lakas. There's no more LDP here. Diba? It's not called PDP.
Right.
Wala, that's it. No, it hasn't changed.
Let me get back to Let me get back to the legacy.
He has left a lot of really beautiful things behind. He has got his country on track. He has showed the path towards that. He shows what it takes to have a good governance, principle working. And I think people appreciate that, Peace also, we had peace at that time. But there's no continuity. no continuity because of the political structure. Sayang, sayang. Every time there's a new administration, we seem to be building again, starting all over again, well,
Do we really have to start at square one every time?
we have square 2, I think the square to 100,
Yeah.
square 3,
Oh.
masyadong too slow, and we need a lot of people with goodwill, whose heart is really to serve the people. Yeah, kulang.
Okay. Post 1998, you've still been meeting ever so often with FVR. How is that like?
I have smelled a lot already. I have smelled a lot. For a while, I thought he would be a very critical ally of Duterte, but I guess ibang alliances, see? People look at you more based on personalities rather than principles, and sayang. I think if Duterte only continued with his advice and listened to him, pero maraming kalaman sa loob,
Yeah.
And I think for a while he realized that he was not getting to where he would like to go, because of the usual intrigues, inside intrigues, Sayang. Sayang. He could have benefited from his experience.
And the wisdom. No?
The wisdom. Sayang. But we have got to keep on trotting along, I guess.
Yeah. Soldier on.
Soldier on.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.